good, ladies and gentlemen? Accolonn here, and of course, as always, welcome back to Mythic Banter. As always, we are joined by Mr. Rurikhan. Rurikhan, how are you doing, sir?
Absolutely fantastic. There's a whole lot of stuff to talk about this week, things that have happened throughout the week in the realm of gaming news. Obviously fantastic things, great topics like Marathon imploding and Randy Pitchford doing what Randy Pitchford does, which is being an absolute asshole. Scam Citizen continuing to scam people left, right, and center. So, just like phenomenal discussions to be had as always. How about you, Accolonn? How are you doing?
Oh, dude, I am doing great. I'm doing even better when I went through all of the news that had happened this week, and I realized, wow, the gaming industry really seems hell-bent on torching itself. It's like every single week we do this show, and every single week I just have this image of the games industry standing there pouring the gasoline slowly, putting themselves on the pyre. Like, they're literally witch burning themselves. They're literally getting up on it and going, no, but we don't want to do this.
It's an interesting thing, though, because we always say the games industry, but I always find that there's really cool things happening in the industry in terms of games being released and stuff. Like, we'll talk about a little bit about Tainted Grail today, which was kind of a bit of breath of fresh air as well.
Yeah.
But there are so many good things happening, but for some strange reason, the at least the AAA portion, a large majority of the AAA portion of the industry, they just can't seem to figure it out. They're just like, I don't know, man. This whole video game development seems impossible.
Yeah, this is so
hard. We don't know how to do it anymore.
and you sit there and you go, how is it that the AA and the indie companies just figure it out? Like, they just happen to do it, right? And the AAA guys are just like, well, I have no idea. What is this game design thing even? Like, how could you possibly know what gamers want? And it's like, I don't know. Videos, streams,
just
forums.
listen to what they're saying. It's so easy, but no, it's too hard, obviously.
There's actually a topic that I forgot that I'm going to add in here right after our Star Citizen thing. Because it's about Take-Two's CEO.
This never happens. Unscripted topics in this show? No, sir. This is completely unacceptable. It's an exceptional situation, which is why Accolonn felt the need to call it out. Because this never happens on any of our shows.
No,
ever.
we're always super well prepared.
Yes. Super professional, super well prepared. Everything works.
Indeed.
It's just like Todd Howard. It just works with 16 times the detail. It's that simple.
Should literally be. We should do that as the intro to our podcast. Like, that should be
16
the intro.
times the topics.
16 times the detail. Just works.
It just works.
It just works. But all right. So before we get into any sort of discussions and any sort of, you guys know the drill, we have to look at the poll now. Very quickly, to our Spotify viewers and our Apple Podcast viewers, you guys are slacking on this poll because I thought, you know what, we keep forgetting to add you guys and include you guys in the poll discussions. But then I go to the poll and it literally is 3 votes. 3 votes and 1 for each going, yes, no, I hope not. What am I supposed to do with this poll? Like, what am I supposed to do with this poll? Anyways, anyone who actually planned for the poll to be that outcome, and there's literally 3 people that coordinated this, well done to you.
Yes,
however,
that is that's impressive.
However, what isn't that bad is, of course, on the YouTube side, 365 of you voted. Thank you so much. The reason we do these polls, by the way, is so that we can get a bit of feedback on where you guys stand on the topics that we discuss. Because it's helpful for us to know how the community thinks about these things. So the question for this week was, is AI a serious threat to the gaming industry? And 28% of you said yes, 31% of you said no, and 37% of you said, I'm not sure, but I hope not. Okay, which I think is actually pretty interesting. The fact that the majority of people were like, I hope not. Like, shit.
It's very interesting that people are so divided on the topic of AI, because it still feels like such a massive blind spot for everyone, that we still don't know exactly what's going to be happening with it. Other than, of course, we're going to get some slop. I think we've already gotten some AI slop. That's definitely going to happen. That's also happening within like mainstream media. There's a bunch of people writing AI slop, and it's funny saying a bunch of people writing AI slop. It's a bunch of people putting prompts into Chat GPT, so it like vomits out a couple of articles.
Dude, have you 100%. Seen some of these literal, the channels on X that just farm clickbait the whole time? Have you seen some of their bloopers where they will literally include the prompt that they asked Grok to write them this viral tweet? So they're not even like committed to the clickbait, They're not even going out there and looking for the titty pic that they can use for the thumbnail. They're just going to Grok and say, let's go. Yeah.
They've automated it so much that they're just like, I'll just like screen grab this shit, boom, done.
Yeah.
Because in their head, maybe it even like crops it automatically, because Twitter crops the up and lower portions of some pictures. So like, this will get cropped anyway, so it doesn't fucking matter. You have to actually click. People actually have to actually click this tweet to see how much of a dumb fuck I am.
Yep. Like, dude, I'm just and this is, look at us talking about stuff that we didn't plan to talk about. But I don't. I love a lot of things about the new X, but I hate just as many things as I love. Which is, in the past, I hated Twitter basically nonstop. I had no time for Twitter. Now there are things that I love about X, but dude, there's so much that I hate. For one, the monetization. Get rid of monetization. It doesn't work. It literally just it creates these farm accounts that push the biggest load of bollocks onto your timeline. The amount of times that I see people going, breaking news, the Third World War is happening, protect yourself now with these steps, and then it's just a bunch of crypto bullshit, and they're just breaking it down like a 10-tweet thread of all the different crypto scams that you have to get involved in. It's
not like that type of shit doesn't happen on YouTube as well. It happens on all platforms that are monetized. It is what it is. So
I just feel like
it's just one of those things that we need to figure out ways of putting like good topics, good threads on top, and then just like pushing all the crypto nonsense and OnlyFans promotions and shit like that to the very bottom, which is basically most of the threads that you end up seeing on X nowadays. It's like, these women asked men for their dirty little secrets. You won't believe the replies. Yeah. And then it's just like a bunch of bullshit that's probably made up. And then like 5 posts from some random OnlyFans account and some like men's pleasuring tool somewhere in there. It's just
and then the replies are all these OnlyFans bot accounts that's just pushing
that's what I was saying.
Going,
the OnlyFans shit. Yeah.
It is just...
You should check out my thread. Ooh.
The thing for me is, I feel like there is probably a world in which X can do video monetization. So people who upload their videos to X is like sort of like a new YouTube thing, right? Where those accounts go through kind of like the same thing that you have on YouTube. For those of you that don't know how it works on YouTube, you start your channel, you don't get any monetization.
Oh, yeah,
once you hit 1,000 subscribers, but before you can get monetized, there is a representative from YouTube that looks at your content to make sure that that content is actually worth monetizing in the first place.
I don't know if that happens anymore, to be honest.
I sort of think that it still does, but of course it could just be AI now that does it, because everyone just does AI.
Especially with the ElsaGate stuff, which apparently is making a bit of a comeback, like those
ElsaGate?
creepy ass children videos where Elsa bangs Spider-Man, then gets pregnant, and then some other superhero shows up and something really bad, fucked up happens. Like those types of videos.
Yeah.
So since those are still getting approved and monetized, I no longer know if there's anybody like actually
it might you might
things.
actually be right, but you could do that on X, right? So only people that upload videos to X can get monetized, and there's an actual human reviewer to make sure that those videos those content creators are actually creators and they're not just pushing AI slop. But monetizing tweets, people tweet because they want to be heard, because they think they have something to say. The vast majority of people,
nowadays people tweet because they want to monetize. Like this is just
the truth is the vast majority of people aren't monetized, right? And so they're never gonna be monetized, and yet they still tweet, right? They still get involved in like the Twitter wars and stuff. You can remove monetization entirely for normal tweeters and just have it for video uploads and stuff. And maybe split the two. Have like a tab at the top that says just X, text or whatever, and then video. And you go to video and it has a nice YouTube layout and you can find all the videos there. I don't know. Sorry, I had to rant a little about X. I find myself hating
Elon
that
Musk
app.
will never forgive you.
Yeah.
He's listening to you right now.
I love the app.
As he's watching his Chinese player level him up through Path of Exile. He's listening to you and being like, this South African motherfucker from my own home country. Et tu, Accolonn? That's what he's going like right now, bro. He's going like, et tu, Accolonn? Because he's from South Africa as well, right?
Yeah. He's from Pretoria, my old hometown. But no, I mean, as I said, there's as many things I love as I hate about it. It just, the monetization makes it so bad, man. But okay, so talking about the poll year, I think one of the reasons we're getting this massively split thing is almost everyone is judging the question based on their own presuppositions. Right? So they already have a bunch of presuppositions about how they think AI is going to be used, and they're answering the question based on that, which I understand because I do the same thing. But I think it is important to sort of think about this question from the perspective of rather, if you think about the worst possible way that AI can be used, so it replaces screenwriters and it replaces sort of all artists, it all just becomes AI slop. Do you truly believe that a game like that will be successful?
No.
So maybe some AAA companies will do it once, realize shit, that doesn't work. Yeah.
Here's the problem with it. Let's say it's not successful, but it still sells like 10,000 copies. Those are 10,000 copies that could have been sales for another video game, and they weren't. Those are like things where at some point somebody looked at like a AA game, and they were like, oh, I'm thinking about buying this one. And then they looked at the AI slop one because they weren't informed or whatever, and they're like, oh, actually, this one looks a little bit more my style. Maybe because the art has a little bit more red in it or something, which is a color that they happen to like.
Yeah.
And they choose the AI slop one. And that's a sale that the other game didn't make. So it's like, sure, it might not be successful to the level that people want it to be successful, but at the same time, it didn't cost a fraction to make, and it's still taking sales away from other video games. That's the biggest problem, is that a lot of this AI slop will be taking sales away from legitimate video games that will be less successful on account of it.
I get that. I think the argument you're making is short-term might be really bad, although I do think long-term, the studio that did the AI slop probably ruined the reputation forever. Because the next game that they bring out, every single player is going to be like, wait, is this another one of those bullshit games?
I don't think that such a thing as ruining your reputation forever is ever really going to happen, because let's just face it, Bungie is still around, Activision is still around, Electronic Arts is still around, friggin' Ubisoft is still around, and they've been fucking people in the ass nonstop for like the last decade. But like, there's no such thing as fucking up your reputation, because quite simply, the vast audience of gaming has hit mainstream for a while now. I'm not talking like this is a recent thing. For a while, it's hit the mainstream in a way that there's a bunch of normies that will just continuously buy whatever happens to be the popular thing or the best marketed thing. And that's why marketing still works. And that's why marketing still makes the big bucks, because a large majority of the gaming population isn't watching shows like us or even shows better than ours or whatever. They're not super well informed. They just look at the shiny thing and they see the marketing material for it and they go like, yep, I'm interested. Yep. I'm in. Let's fucking go.
I think I do agree with you, although I think sometimes for me, it's a question of, because if you go back 5 years ago, right, and you say, dude, Ubisoft is going to be in serious trouble, people would look at you and go like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, they're massive. Like, didn't you see Valhalla? It made over $1 billion. Like, these guys clearly have the future is there
right now.
Yeah. But the thing is, there's this age-old quote where if you ask someone, how did you go bankrupt? They'll say little by little and then all at once. Right? So decline is really slowly until it isn't. And I think slowly but surely, a lot of the AAA is sort of carving out the last vestiges of goodwill that they still had with the community. And there's a number of companies like Activision, even Bungie, that are still sort of high and mighty only because it is so difficult to make the games that they make. And I get people will say, well, how hard can it be to make a shooter? Must be very hard, considering we very rarely get indie companies to do it. So I would imagine there's a lot of problems with things like network optimization, probably very expensive to do that kind of optimization, getting all of the ballistics and everything just right, probably beyond the scope of what most indie companies can take on. But as technology increases, as AI become a bigger part of the industry, maybe we'll start to see indie companies bring out Call of Duty-like games, right? And Battlefield games and looter shooters. So very quickly, there will be alternatives, and these companies will collapse under the weight of their own ineptitude. Hopefully, of course, we can't possibly know that.
Hope.
Yeah, one can only hope. But okay, so that being said, I think it's interesting that all of you have such vast opinions on AI. My personal opinion, as we've discussed it last week, both cautiously optimistic and shit scared. Because cautiously optimistic for what it could be in the perfect world, and then I think, oh, look, there's the AAA industry. I wonder what hell these guys can invent with this that I couldn't even dream up. I guarantee in 5 years I'm going to be sitting here going, I didn't think you could be that bad. Like, I didn't even think, I in my wildest dreams.
I wasn't expecting this.
Yeah. Like, I was expecting some bad shit, but not this. You know, so I get why, like, every single one of these answers on this poll, I understand why they answered it that way. I can understand it. But all right, so on to our first topic of the day. Now, this is a bit more of a politically charged topic. I want to make it clear at the offset, at least from myself, and I'm assuming Rurikhan would stand by this as well, I'm not getting into geopolitical discussions. Just, I don't know shit about geopolitics. I'm not getting
I would go one step further. You shouldn't be looking at video game commentators for your geopolitical opinions.
Yeah,
just like, maybe a hot take. I don't know. Maybe it's a hot take.
Yeah,
you shouldn't really care how I feel about geopolitics.
No.
And also, I don't care about geopolitics because I'm too dumb to understand it. So, whatever.
But fundamentally, Hasan might be in some very real trouble. And the only reason we're talking about this isn't Hasan being in trouble, but rather what this could mean for Twitch. And Twitch is related to the gaming industry.
Twitch is in trouble, yes.
Yes, Twitch is in serious trouble. Now, for those of you that don't quite know, Hasan has made a career on Twitch, basically acting like a terrorist sympathizer. There's not a terrorist group in the world.
Is his specialty.
Yeah.
The TG podcast, the Sans Terrorist Glazer podcast. That's what he does on a daily basis.
There's not a terrorist group in the world that Hasan doesn't glorify. Like the Houthis, the Islamic Brotherhood, Hamas, like it doesn't matter who it is. If they're terrorists, Hasan's like, what do you got there? Can I have a slice? He's just always interested in it.
Christ.
So Hasan has done this for a while. And look, free speech being free speech, he's allowed to do that. The issue is that once this kind of rhetoric starts blowing into the real world, it brings with it a lot of unwanted scrutiny, specifically scrutiny for Amazon and Twitch. The kind of scrutiny that Amazon and Twitch generally doesn't want, because it brings the government and government investigations and all the rest into it. Now, what happened was a few days ago, 2 Jews were shot and killed in Washington, D.C. by a guy screaming Free Palestine upon his arrest. After being arrested, it came out that this guy is a huge Hasan fan. Now, not ordinarily, I would argue that you cannot blame a creator for the actions of their community, because
I would still argue for that, regardless if it's Hasan involved or not.
I still believe that Hasan cannot directly be blamed. However, if you take into account the rhetoric from Hasan goes live every single day telling people...
He's not helping, yeah.
No, but he does this thing, and the left loves doing this. They mask their criticisms of Jews as anti-Zionism. But then what they say sounds like they're just against Jews, right? Like, it's sort of like, no, dude, I'm not against Jews. I'm against anti-Zionism, however. And then it's just like a bunch of anti-Jew stuff. And you're like, wait, there's legitimate criticism of Israel and the Israel government. And then there's sort of making wild claims, like, for example, Israel has no right to exist. That's no longer anti-Zionism, right? That like, if you're saying things like from the river to the sea, what do you think that means? From the river to the sea means from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, means wiping out all Jews. That's what the Palestinians sang, and that's what they meant with that song. So when you're saying it, you're endorsing that, right?
I'm not going to get involved in the geopolitics portion of it or the meaning of the from the river to the sea, because I just don't have the background for it. But the one thing that I will say that I have noticed whenever I do see clips from Hasan, which get bombarded in everyone's timeline. Let's not pretend like, oh yeah, I never seen an Hasan clip. Like, it gets thrown in my fucking timeline all the goddamn time. That fucking shit is always there. It's the YouTube algorithm working overtime. But what I have noticed from the way that he talks is that he basically tries to use as many slurs as he possibly can, but only the acceptable ones.
Yes.
So whatever random slur he can come up with for specific situation or whatever, like racially charged shit, he will use it. He'll stop just short of using like the N-word, because that one's not acceptable. But everything else, like, he'll go straight. He doesn't give a fuck.
No.
And if he could, he would say the N-word just as well. That's my interpretation from what I've seen of him. So, it is what it is. Dude is, as far as I'm concerned, he's a bit of a racist, likely. Maybe, don't know, allegedly.
Yep.
But yeah. That's what I get from the stuff that I hear from that guy. So whatever.
I absolutely agree with everything you said there. I think the other problem is that Hasan glorifies violence against Jews as well as against civilians. I mean, Hasan literally laughed as a Houthi pirate sat there telling him about how they abducted a commercial captain of a boat and then forced him to dance with them. And Hasan's like, oh, dude, that's epic.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure that was a very civilized thing. Wasn't there also that thing where, hostages were getting released or whatever? And he was like, oh, look, they're even kissing their captors and shit. And it's like, yeah, Because they're going to get fucking shot if they don't. You moron. Like, what the fuck? What do you mean?
Yeah, dude. So Hasan glorifies
It's just
violence.
like straight up propaganda. It's like, it's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
He glorifies violence against Jewish people all the time, right? And then masks it as anti-Zionism. And now someone goes and actually kills Jews. And you actually have people in Hasan's community going, I think this guy's a hero. My only problem is it's only 2. And it's like, bro, like, holy crap.
It's like when you go so far into the left that you make like a full 180 and you become a Nazi.
Yeah, like you're just welcome to the Nazi party.
I don't know. It seems to me like that was something that was happening back in the day through this Austrian painter situation. It's like he was doing something similar to whatever the fuck these guys.
Adolf would be proud. Like Adolf would be proud.
It's just fucked up. It is completely messed up, and it's like, look, whenever it comes to these types of situations, I disavow everything that involves the killing of civilians. I think it's completely barbaric that we still fight wars with guns and shit. Like, listen, we have video games now. You can straight up just live out. You can live out all of those fantasies in a fucking video game. You don't need to be out there in the world killing actual people. Okay,
I think
it's ridiculous.
So I personally think that we should do more war, but we should make all guns that it's not accurate past like 10 meters, right? And then we should also invent stuff like chain swords, like in 40K, and shields and shit. It should be proper, like, brutal war, melee? You know? Yeah, like proper melee war, running into each other. Let's make war great again, I think. You know,
I think it should be I think it should be like in the old days where you just had I mean, this never actually happened in the old days, but movies kind of romanticize that stuff.
Yeah.
You just have like each army has their hero, and then you just have the heroes duke it out. That saves so many lives. It's like, no, each country gets like one champion. No, each country gets one champion. They train that champion to the nth degree. He's the guy who defends the country. And it's like, you guys just go fight and that's it. And that guy's got to be like one of the most well-paid persons in the world.
Yeah.
That is always like, and you have like your follow-up champions, but like that would be it. You have like your one champion, and whenever there's a fight, you get them in an arena and they beat the fuck out of each other. And whoever wins. It is what it is. So
I agree with that. I think that's good.
That would be so much more humane, so much more easy to settle.
And we can sell tickets to that shit, right? Like people can bet on the outcome. It can be real good sport,
And investors out in the world just like
sponsors, right now Pepsi, Coca-Cola, just everywhere, lights, camera, action. Imagine how amazing that could be.
America versus China, sponsored by Bud Light.
Brought to you by State Farm.
Oh, God, no, dude. The brain rot. Holy shit.
Dude, it'd be
Today
cool,
in geopolitics with Rurikhan and Accolonn, we solved most problems in the world.
True.
Oh, God. But basically, Hasan is a scumbag, and one of the biggest reasons why we talk about this is because Twitch completely fails to implement their own policies. Like, they'll ban everyone, but they will straight up glaze Hasan's dick.
Dude, he gets pushed on the front page, on the home page. The CEO and the president of Twitch literally wished him a personal happy B-Day. Like, hey fam, love ya. More terrorist propaganda, please. Wow.
It's just really, really weird how biased they are when it comes to that type of stuff. So I'm not a fan of their selective implementation of their own rules, but whatever.
And what makes this worse, and this is where we get to, because none of this is new, the ADL. Now, I have a lot of problems with the ADL, but the ADL does have a lot of pull in America.
What is the ADL again?
It's the Anti-Defamation League. Now, their whole reason for their existence is Jewish hate, right? The whole point for their existence is anti-Semitism. and fighting anti-Semitism. They've since gotten involved in fighting the right and conservatives as well, but for the most part, that's what they're supposed to be doing. Now, hate them or love them, they do have a lot of sway in America. Their president just went on live television, mainstream media, and basically said Hasan's to blame for this. Now, this is going to lead, especially since, and again, not making any political statements here, but you have a government currently, an administration in America that is very anti-terrorist, very anti-American sentiment. This is perfect. This is the perfect in for them to basically start investigating Hasan, because I will be honest with you guys, and this is just pure speculation on my part, so allegedly, but I have questions about Hasan's funding, about where Hasan gets the influence that he gets, because, dude, there's not a conflict in this world where Hasan isn't immediately on the side of the Islamic fundamentalists. Like, no matter what happens, when India and Pakistan had their 2-day war, Hasan's like, yeah, it's India's fault, Pakistan is innocent in this. It's like, dude, you don't even know shit yet. Like, we don't even have details of what happened. They haven't even decided who bombed first, and you're already convinced that it must have been India. Pakistan is completely immune or innocent in all of this. So I do think there's going to be massive investigations happening against Hasan. But then I think the real problem is going to be the investigations into Twitch and Amazon, because they're allowing this.
I think one of the biggest problems that we have is, how do we live in a society that decides to get their geopolitical news from a random Twitch streamer that has a terrible track record when it comes to calling things out accurately, and he's more of a reactionary, playing off of people's emotions and just getting them riled up and all of that bullshit.
How dare you, sir? He calls himself a journalist now.
Than actually reporting on accurate news or anything like that. So it's just weird for me that people are getting their geopolitical topics from him. I wonder if it's also like people that are hate watching and shit like that. It's probably a significant amount of that. So,
I think there's a lot of people that's just watching because they hate him. But then obviously he does have his rabid fan base. You know, you have Denims and Frogan and those people around him as well.
We've seen a couple of those people join in our comment sections, like going into, random Mythic Banter episodes where it happened to then eventually mention Hasan, and they just come in here and still gargling off of the man's cum and being like, oh, how dare you talk about Hasan like that? You're fucking uninformed. And it's like, bro, first of all, wipe off the side of your fucking mouth, okay, before you talk to us, and then try not cock gobbling Hasan every goddamn fucking day, bro. Jesus.
Yeah, and I
don't care about any of this fucking bullshit. I just care that Twitch needs to enforce their fucking policies appropriately, and that's it. And by their own policies, by their own fucking terms of service, Hasan keeps breaking that shit and does not get banned. And by the way, I usually don't advocate for any type of banning at all. The biggest problem is that, you keep banning other people, but you don't ban him. So it's like,
100%. And I think the other thing that should be mentioned here is Twitch is at risk. Remember, Amazon has no reason to keep Twitch around. Twitch isn't making it money. Twitch costs Amazon money. And if this becomes an international scandal where it starts to reflect on Amazon, so suddenly Amazon is the company being questioned for why this guy is still allowed on air, Amazon could very quickly say, hold up, we don't want to be seen as the terrorist sympathizer, seller. No. Close this shit down. And then you lose Twitch. And now many of you might actually say, finally, because there are people who hate Twitch, and I get that. But there's also a lot of people that love Twitch, right? That love going to Twitch and watching Twitch. And I think Twitch, generally speaking, has a good impact on the video game scene. And I don't want to see that harmed by an asshole. Dude, actually, the thing that triggers me most is that the president of the ADL called Hasan a gamer. That triggered me more than anything else. I immediately tweeted out and I was like, how dare you, sir? Like, gamer? He's not a gamer. Like, that's an insult to actual gamers. So, yeah.
Absolutely crazy.
Yeah, I mean, this story is still developing and we'll bring you updates as and when it happens. But on to the next story. And this is again not one that we really planned on talking about, but it is something that me and Rurikhan spoke about before all of this happened. It's not going to be a super long one, but before all of this happened, there's been a bit of an aura or an air, I think you could say, among a lot of content creators that things have changed on YouTube. There's just major changes that's happened. A lot of the other day, I saw a YouTuber with over 1 million subscribers. I won't name names because I don't think I haven't asked if I'm allowed to name them. But they did say that everything's down. View counts are down. Revenue is down. Everything just seems down. Subscriber numbers are down. This guy specifically said that they get usually, I think, about 1,000-something subscribers a day. They're now in the minus on subscribers per day.
Interesting. I've seen that as well in my own numbers recently, but I just assumed it's because Monster Hunter Wilds is kind of like on a bit of a downward trend. They had like the launch, which is usually, video game launches, big upswing, then video game peters out, starts down swinging.
Yeah.
But usually I'm able to recover through other video games, and this time it's been a little bit rougher than usual, but yeah.
Yeah, and so I asked Grok, and I was just like, can you explain to me what major changes have happened to the YouTube algorithm in the last few months, and are there content creators that's claiming that their views and stuff are down on YouTube? Is it increased? And effectively, here's what Grok had to say. The algorithm has moved away from prioritizing traditional metrics like view counts and click-through rates. For those of you that don't know, click-through rate was the premier thing. Because if your thumbnail was really, really well done and it grabbed attention, it would make people click, and that would mean that people are watching, right? Towards user satisfaction indicators. These include likes, comments, shares, and survey feedback, which reflect how much value viewers derive from content. Yeah. Now, I, as a content creator, never ask people to like until the end of the video.
I'll usually do it at the end of the video as well, because it's kind of like, I don't know, I feel like it breaks the flow when you're trying to get a point going, and the first thing that you're saying is like, by the way, don't forget to like and subscribe.
Yeah. The downside on that is a lot of the time when people get to the end of the video, they're already moving on to the next one. So they're not really going to like the video at that point because they're already moving on to the next one. So it's sort of like, do it in the beginning. I hate that. Do it at the end, and most people don't click the like button. The other problem, of course, here is...
By the way, you guys should hit the like button on this amazing podcast.
Well, it seems like you now have to try and incentivize your community to like, comment, and share. What the hell are you talking about sharing? Like, why? Anyways, and
sharing is caring, Accolonn.
Yeah, but it's... The problem with this is it incentivizes a new type of content now, right?
You know what content it is? It's fucking shorts, because that's the most shareable form of content. Like, you're not going to send somebody a 30-minute nuanced discussion about a video game topic to a friend, but you'll sure as fuck send some like random bullshit 30-second funny clip to somebody else. And I've seen that my feed has had more and more like shorts, particularly like these comic book shorts that talk about very specific snippet facts about like Captain America or Spider-Man or Iron Man or whatever, or these super niche like comic book editions where Iron Man is evil or something along those lines. So yeah, I've seen like tons of those. Now, naturally, it's also because if you watch one of them, then the algorithm will just like, okay, here's 10 more. And, but I've definitely seen an increased amount of shorts in my feed, especially if you're browsing on your phone.
Yeah.
Like shorts used to be, you would find like one every 10 posts or something. And now shorts just dominate the fucking feed. Like there's no long form content, which makes sense because, interestingly enough, because of the TikTok stuff and all of that.
Yeah.
So the algorithm appears to be more optimized for shorts now. That's great. That's good to fucking know. Thanks, YouTube.
Yeah.
For once again, fucking shit up.
Again, according to Grok here, it says in March and May of 2025, creators on X reported significant drops in views. For instance, a creator shared by vidIQ noted the channel's average views plummeting from 5 to 15,000 to 100 to 400 overnight. That's insane. 100 to 400 views overnight, with the algorithm heavily favoring one older video over new content. You have Neon mentioned a 30% drop in views, with discussions on Reddit suggesting a broader issue with the algorithm. These claims indicate that some creators are experiencing inconsistent promotion of new content, possibly due to the algorithm. Yeah.
I've also noticed that live streams have taken a big downswing because I stream a bunch on YouTube, and but it could. The thing is, right? I'm not arrogant enough to the point where I'm like, there's something wrong with the algorithm. Like whenever I'm down on views, the first thing that I think is I'm doing something wrong. Like there's probably something going wrong in the way that I've been producing. So I always look for fault within myself before I look for it anywhere else. I'm like, okay,
same.
Change something? Do I need to play something else? What do I got to do? Like there's something wrong. So it's interesting because I didn't even consider the algorithm because I just kind of like gave up on understanding that shit. I'm like, whatever the fuck, bro. I'll make some. Maybe the algorithm will pick it up. Maybe it won't. Who the fuck knows?
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see.
But it is here. Apparently, one of the big impacts is the fact that 3-minute shorts now exist. And it would appear that those shorts directly compete with long form videos.
Yep.
So you just have a mess. So yeah, when myself, Rurikhan, and other creators ask you guys to like and comment, please do.
You should definitely like, if there's a creator that you enjoy their content and you're going to want to watch a video from them today, hit the like button.
Yeah,
that'd be a recommendation from Rurikhan and Accolonn. Yeah. Even if it's Hasan.
Yeah, if you want
Hasan, go to his channel and hit like button on his video so that the shit gets sent out or whatever. I don't know.
Because apparently this is what the algorithm wants.
You want to support, just make sure to hit like button on their videos.
Anyways, just wanted to discuss that. On to our next topic, and this is where we get into the fun stuff.
One.
Yeah, this is where we get into the fun stuff. So marathon, we already discussed the marathon situation with, let's say, apprehending assets that might not have been theirs.
heavily inspired by somebody's art style.
One might almost call it theft.
Yes. Actually, interestingly enough, that you would say that one might almost call it theft because they admitted that it was theft. So it actually is theft. Like it's not like we have to say allegedly Bungie has been used. It's like, no, the creative director came out and said, "Yep, we did it.
We took that.
It wasn't us though. It was somebody else. Doesn't work here anymore. That person's gone. We got rid of them.
Named.
They're
not named. Yeah. We're not giving you a name.
Random person. Yeah. He made a texture package, sent it over, and we didn't notice. We follow this person on Twitter. We see her art all the time.
Don't skip over that. That's, by the way, the most fundamental thing about this. The creative director and a bunch of artists follow this artist. Right?
Yes. So they follow her. And then it's like, oh yeah, but we never noticed that her art was in here. And apparently she hid a bunch of shit in her art and whatnot, like meme references from 4chan and shit like that.
Yep.
And they didn't notice it. So it's blatantly obvious that it's her artwork and it's just straight up lifted. It's not like, oh yeah, we drew heavy and spray. It's like, no, you stole a fuckload of assets. It's not even like one or two, but it's like just a straight up fuckload of assets and just straightly put them in the game. And it's like, the narrative I feel is kind of divided right now. There's some people saying, well, it's this specific art style. Wipeout uses it as well. And blah. It's like, no, yes, it is the art style, but they also specifically have like straight up lifted shit. Some of the things they horizontally flipped. A lot of the things they just straight up just like plop with the same fucking text and everything.
You have icons in the original artwork that is literally in the game. Those exact same icons.
It's worse than the icons because some of the art will have like words. Like one of them I think was Athena or Atham or something like that. Yeah. And it's just straight up there. It's the same thing. Yep. It's like, at least change the text. So
what
that
a
it doesn't
coincidence.
look that obvious. They're like, nah, fuck it. We're just going to steal it. Don't care. No fucks given. But I think that the most blatant thing is that, again, the creative director follows her on Instagram. A lot of the people on the team follow her on Instagram, and not a single fucking person noticed. So one of two things happen. Yeah. Either people just give so little fucks about this video game that as the textures were passing through, they're like, looks good, don't care, whatever, fuck this, hate this game, hate my life, gonna probably commit suicide when I get home. Maybe.
Yeah, literally just a guy like sitting there.
They're just so doomer pilled at this point that like they see the blatant theft of art and don't even notice it. Yeah. Or they were hoping that she wouldn't make a big fuss, except she did. So, you know.
I think the thing for me that pisses me off about this whole situation is you then have the media first reporting on the story and then immediately makes the leadership of Bungie the boogeyman. It's all their fault. Suddenly there's so many stories coming out about how the developers are completely broken. These devs don't want to work on this game. There's no support from the leadership team. Motivation is gone. The spirit of Bungie is gone because they've apparently all of these developers have been warning for years now that this is not the kind of game that they should be making. And all I kept thinking to myself was the art director followed the artist. How is any of this to blame on the suit that isn't following the artist? The suit didn't draw this shit. The suit doesn't even know who this artist is. The suit just wants a game that is maximum greed so that they can charge maximum money. They don't really give a shit about anything else.
The suit just wants some new cars for his collection.
Right? There are some things that you can blame the suits for, but then there are things that you just cannot. I'm currently working on a story. You remember all of these sort of crunch articles that came out like a few years ago? Jason Schreier was writing all of these articles about the frat boy culture in Blizzard and the frat boy culture in EA and how all of these studios had widespread sexual harassment and stuff. So I've been reading those articles again. And one thing that really stood out to me, and this all is just allegedly at this point, but do you know that there's never a single developer named in any of these articles? Not a single one. There's not a single named developer that is willing to speak on the record about what actually happened.
Yeah, of course, because they're fucking scared.
No, but it goes a little bit deeper than that, right? So every single one of these articles just alleges a bunch of former as well as current employees and developers that allegedly spoke to him and said all of these things. Then you have, for example, Blizzard being actively investigated by the Californian government for this widespread sexual harassment. The Californian government finds no evidence of widespread sexual harassment. Zero. But you have Jason Schreier with this entire expose, because remember, his article is what sparks the investigation into Blizzard. He has all of these developers that's willing to speak to him off the record, claiming all of these things that happened, right? Drinking of breast milk, women being victimized and shit in the offices. But the Californian government, with their full investigation, finds no evidence of widespread sexual harassment at these companies or at Blizzard. None. Zero. this is why they don't continue with the case. They settle it outside court because, well, they give Activision a sort of slap on the wrist to say, hey, play by the rules now. But nothing else happens. Now, is it true that there were some, right? So Alex Afrasiabi, for example, yeah, pretty evil dude. I mean, we know that happened. But in a company with over 5,000 developers, one or two people being sort of scumbags is not evidence of widespread. Like, if you take Jason Schreier's article and then you look at what was actually found and you go, his article suggests that there should be hundreds of people going away,
so,
right?
Are you suggesting that Jason Schreier is lying?
I'm not yet willing to do that. What I am suggesting is there's something strange that happened in 2017, 2018, maybe even up to 2019, where the media took companies to task over things like crunch, over things like harassment and female anything and everything, accusing these companies of not being diverse enough, not being inclusive enough, not being any of these things enough. And if you look at the articles when they came out and you look at the drop and decline in quality from these studios, it coincides. There's a direct correlation between these studios suddenly all changing everything, all now wanting to be super diverse and super inclusive and super everything, embracing all of these DEI stuff. You also see a massive exodus from old school developers who used to work at these companies, leaving and starting their own studios and stuff. So either they're pushed out or they start to realize that the environment is becoming a lot more hostile in these studios to people who just want to be making video games and don't necessarily want to get into politics at all. But my theory is very, very conspiracy heavy at this point. So I'm still doing a lot of research.
I was noticing that. I was like, okay, I see where this is going. This is
it's sort of like
one of the things that I would point out is probably a flaw in your theory is that you are assuming that the government of California is going to be particularly competent when it comes to finding these cases of, like, you're assuming that the government is going to be more efficient at finding these things than somebody who is actively reporting on this media and has a reputation that people are willing to be sources for. So I would argue that likely Jason Schreier might just be a little bit better informed than the Californian government. And I don't say this because I'm a Jason Schreier fan, but because I think that Jason Schreier's body of work speaks for itself.
It's absolute. Well, Jason Schreier's body of work speaks for itself if what he wrote is true.
True.
Right? That should be mentioned. But no, your objections is completely valid and also noted, which is why I said at this point it's just a conspiracy theory. But if I were to tie it all together, you have 2013, 2014, Gamergate 1 happening. The media and the game developers get their asses handed to them, right? The gamers have no interest in this. Gamers don't want to be called racist, sexist pieces of shit. So they reject all of this.
It's a good thing that it's only the gamers that don't want to be called racist pieces of shit.
Yeah,
Everybody else is like, that's fine.
Yeah, well, the gamers then declare victory because technically we did win. Zoe Quinn is outed as a complete scumbag. Anita Sarkeesian is outed as a complete scumbag. Most of these studios, most of the media end up suffering massive losses as a result of their bullshit. And so the gamers declare victory. Much of the YouTubers who at the time were fighting Gamergate 1 move on to real world politics, thinking, hey, we beat the woke mind virus in the gaming industry. We can beat it in real life. We can teach these normies how to fight the woke. But then there's a shift in strategy. They push underground. So you suddenly have all of these consultancy firms coming out pushing massive diversity, equity, and inclusion. I don't know if you saw the video just recently by Master of the TDS, where they actually show you Sweet Baby Inc. is part of the Canadian government. It's connected to the Canadian government. So, there's like a bunch of stuff that happens behind the scenes. And then suddenly you have all of these articles coming out of the media about how sexist and evil.
Oh,
excuse me. How sexist and evil all of these companies are. And then you see all of these companies bending over backwards to become not sexist and not evil. And they don't want to be seen as racist. And now suddenly you have this massive sort of revelation in early 2024 with Sweet Baby Inc. becoming known. We now learn that all of this diversity in our video games isn't just a natural diversification of the West, but rather an actual push by consultancy firms into ever more diverse politics. And when I say diverse, when these words are used, they often mean the opposite of what they say. Diversity doesn't mean diversity. It means exclusion of specifically straight white men. That's the conspiracy theory.
Everybody is familiar with a lot of the topics that you just brought up, but it's like, I think that trying to connect all of those dots, like it feels like the guy in It's Always Sunny in California, whatever it is. Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Guy going like, things, look in the board. The look is right there.
So, no, I recognize that.
I don't know, dude. That sounds a little bit too much.
Of course.
I think there was definitely widespread sexual misconduct at Blizzard. I think that was definitely the case. As to whatever happened afterwards, that I don't know. I mean, I definitely know that a lot of the quality went down in a lot of these companies for sure. And some of it is definitely related to the consultancy firms and shit. Like one of the most obvious recent ones that I've seen is the Veilguard one, which we've talked about at length.
Yeah.
But, it's...
You finished it, bro. You finished that game.
Because if I'm going to talk about something, I'm going to fucking finish it to be well informed. I mean,
I don't know about that. Like, at some point, you just go, yep.
Story-wise, it was fucking piss poor. it was fucking piss poor. Yeah, that's what I said.
Yeah, no.
But I got to punch that fucking elf right in his fucking face. That part was good. I punched the elf in the face. Fuck him.
No, I firmly accept your criticism, and as I said, this is conspiracy, still sort of researching it and trying to, and obviously I'll never be able to, I don't have the resources to find the smoking gun, but there is such a thing as inference theory, which is scientifically valid. If you can make a number of connections and those connections infer to a specific outcome, then that becomes at least a theory that should be taken seriously. And I think that there is definitely a world in which you can go, this seems suspect, at the very least, right? This seems a little bit sus. But anyways, that's just my opinion. And that's sort of where the marathon thing, now suddenly you have these articles coming out about how bad the management of Bungie really is, and how the management is destroying the developer's ability to make video games. And I'm just immediately going, I don't think I believe you. I know the management is bad, but are they truly to blame for the horrible state of the game?
I mean, they're partially to blame for the horrible state of the game because obviously, like the developers have said, this is a game that they didn't want it to make.
Yeah.
So yeah, it makes perfect sense that the leadership are the ones to blame. And I thought it was weird that Bungie was even doing this game because Bungie came from like Halo to Destiny, and all of a sudden, now we're going to make an extraction shooter. This absolutely reeks of BioWare coming from fucking Dragon Age and Mass Effect. And it's like, now we're going to do a live service Anthem game.
Yeah.
It's like, what? And also, Dragon Age 4 is going to be a live service because it was going to be as well.
Yeah.
That's what it reeks of. That's not the developers wanting to make that. That's, developers were forced to do that. And even during the development of Destiny 2 and some of Destiny 2's expansion, there were articles where it was told that the developers were saying, please, let us fucking fix this before we release it. Please, let us change these things. Yeah. But bro over there with his fucking classic car collection, we're just going like, fuck that. Line goes up. Release it now. Fix it later. Fuck them players. Do not care. And, they've repeatedly done this throughout a bunch of their Destiny 2 expansions. So, yes, I'm not surprised that the Marathon team is broken down. Now, whether it is broken down to the point where like, oh, yeah, oopsie daisy, we mistakenly committed blatant art theft. Yeah. That's a bit of a stretch. I would say that no, I think that the creative team needs to bear the brunt of the responsibility with the art theft situation, and they don't just get to like shift the blame to the higher ups. You want to shift the blame to the higher ups, you can do that in the form of like, we didn't want it to make an extraction shooter. This is not our type of game. Fuck these people. These people made us do it. Sure, that part I can accept. But you're taking the fall for the fucking creative art theft. Like, straight up, bro. And he has taken the fall. If you've seen that live stream, bro looks like he's standing in front of a fucking firing squad.
Dude, he is
while their chat just fucking roasts them into the fucking ground. Like, they roasted that man, they spit roasted him, and then they fucking carved them up and had him for supper. It was disgusting. And the thing is, they shouldn't have even done that live stream, because you could tell that guy did not want it to be there. And let me tell you something. Over the years, if there's one thing that an audience can tell, is when the host is not interested. So like, if I'm trying to play a video game that I don't like, I can't do that, because the audience is going to be like, fuck, you don't like this. Come on, stop bullshitting. I can see it in your fucking face. Yeah. And it's like, yep, true. Big fucking true. I can't fake that. And obviously that guy can't fake it, because you look at his fucking face.
Dude, he had a rough
just
time.
Like, he had the 1,000-yard stare looking at the fucking chat, bro.
Dude, he
had the 1,000-yard stare.
At some point, he literally looked like, the shitting dog stare. He had that. He was just like, dude, completely empty. Doesn't know what to do.
He's going to have PTSD from that fucking stream. Frogan's probably happy about that.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
But no, I personally think that, as I said, I am not interested ever in running defense for the suits. Most of my YouTube career has been fighting the suits, because I think a lot of the suits are really, really bad for gaming. But I also think that we may have been wildly misled about the actual blame that the suits have to carry. That's just, at least at this point, my opinion on it. I'm now questioning every single article I've ever read, claiming that, they forced us to do this, or even they forced us to make this game live service. And I just keep thinking, wait, they may have forced you to make a live service, but they didn't force you to make a non-binary character storyline, right? And they didn't force you to write a script that even a toddler would go, wait, this is for kids, right? That wasn't forced upon you. That was just your choice.
Wasn't it part of like the whole theory that they get massive funding from certain companies in order to put the DI stuff in the game? Wouldn't that be a suits decision to make? They're like, fuck yeah, make it woke as fuck so that we can make a ton of money.
Well, it would depend on the funding, obviously, and where the funding actually comes from. Now, from what I understand, EA's funding doesn't come necessarily from ESG. But then again, it's entirely possible, right? It's entirely possible that the funding would have an impact on it. But even then, there's ways to make a game diverse and inclusive. That doesn't mean that you write Tash, right?
No. But I'm not even talking about that. I'm just saying, like, you're saying that you don't want to blame the suits for it, and I'm like, but if there was cash incentive for them to do DEI stuff, if not saying that was the case, but if that was the case, which has been said by a lot of people,
I mean, we have
then the
evidence
suits would be to blame.
That there's definite money involved.
Then the suits
right?
would be to blame.
The suits would be to blame for the requirement that the DEI stuff is in there, right? But you can still not blame them for the exact quality of what is in there, right? Like, you look at Baldur's Gate 3. I have no doubt in my mind that Wizards of the Coast, especially with everything we know about Wizards of the Coast, had very big demands on the diversity, equity, and inclusion in Baldur's Gate 3. But it was still done phenomenally well. They were able to make a game that is inclusive and diverse and representative of everyone, but done in such a way that no one even cares, because it's not forced down your throat. So even there, remember, there's a big difference between making a game that is diverse, so making a character like Tash, but then giving the player the option to tell Tash, shut the hell up, bitch, and then just never have to hear about her non-binary bullshit ever again, or writing it so that the player has 3 options on how to agree with Tash in every single scenario, right? There's a major difference. So I can blame the suits for wanting the diverse stuff in there in the first place. I cannot blame the suits for how it was written into the game. Because I doubt Andrew Wilson was in BioWare going, this is how I want it written. I need this. I need a barf. Are you going to write the barf scene? I want that scene. I emailed it to you last night. I was just thinking about it. I thought this is going to work so well. Right? I highly doubt that Andrew Wilson had any idea that this shit was in there. Because I don't think he plays video games. Right? I don't think he knows anything about writing. So I think there's multiple layers to it where you can blame the suits for some things. Like, for example, let's take politics out of it. You can blame the suits for Anthem and sort of demanding that it be live service. But there are some things that you can't blame the suits for. There were severely bad choices for Anthem that made no sense to anyone who played it, right? And yet they made those choices. They were like, yeah, this seems fine to us. And it's like, wait, I get that you guys don't primarily make live service games, but you have played games before, right? Like you do know that this is not how you go about it, right?
But see, there you go. You're in that specific case, you're 100% wrong. Because the developers themselves were telling the suits, hey, listen, here's what Destiny is doing. And then the suits would come down. It's like, I don't give a fuck what Destiny is doing. We're doing something different. You do it the way we said it was. And then they're like, okay, we're going to keep developing in a bubble. Here's what the competition is doing.
Yeah.
You need to look at that. And they were like, no, we don't. We're doing something different. So a lot of the problems in Anthem were because of the suits. And this I know because I was covering Anthem very, very closely. So
yeah,
yes.
I mean, first, I would just say, who alleged that was actually happening? Do we have the developers on record as saying that that's exactly what happened? But even if I were to accept it, that's one game, right? Now, we do know that different managers are going to be different sort of levels. You might get one that's sort of micromanaging as hell, and they want to be able to say that I made all of this myself. But that's not true for the most part, right? Most of the managers, most executives aren't going to care what you or how you put stuff into the game. As long as the game makes money, they couldn't give two shits, right? They just want a good game. So I find it, I don't know, I guess I find it hard that we now live in this era where every single time there's something wrong with a game, the mainstream media immediately blames the suits for everything. Oh, it's all the suits.
It's not just the mainstream media. I will blame leadership for a lot of the shit that has been happening in video games because factually speaking, that has been the case for the problems with a lot of video games. Like,
I would argue,
you look at something like Veilguard. The reason why Veilguard is a piece of shit is because they went from a single-player game into a live service, which we've confirmed this at some point in one of our podcasts. We've been talking about it. They went from it being from a single-player game into a live service, which one of the reasons why they went into live service is because they wanted to, like, remove people from the team to start the game fresh to make them go develop something else. I forget if it was Anthem or the next Mass Effect or whatever the fuck
according
it was.
to Dara. Right, Mark Dara is one of
we talked about this.
Yeah,
we talked about this in one of the latest podcasts, and so that was clearly a decision from higher up, from the leadership of the team. So I absolutely blame leadership on a lot of these problems that we've been having in video games. Because oftentimes you can tell that like the creative team is talented, the animation team is talented, the combat team is talented. It's just the actual business decisions on a lot of these games are poorly made.
The only problem with that is the game became a single-player game in 2020. That's according to Mark Dara himself. In 2020, they made the decision, okay, fine, it's going to be a single-player game. This means that they had 4 years.
Then Yeah, but
4 years to develop
very competent
Dragon Age the Veilguard single player. Because what you're talking about happened in 2018 and 2019. In 2018, they suddenly decided we're going to make, at the time it was called Great Wolf. No, it's going to be a live service game, right? And so they sort of started doing the live service stuff. Then they all got pulled over to go and help with, I forget if it was Anthem. And then as they came back, they sort of kept working. And then in 2020, just before Mark Dorra left the project, they said, okay, no, it's going to be a single player. So they still had 4 years to develop this game as a single player. So I just sort of go, I'm not sure if I can blame the live service thing for the failure of Dragon Age: The Veilguard. 4 years is more than enough to make a proper single player, no?
Let me just ask you this question.
Yeah?
You've been working on a video for 2 years.
Yeah.
Actually, it's probably more than 2 years because at 2018, which is when they announced that it was, you said just now that 2018 is when they announced it was going to be a live service.
Yeah.
So at that point, let's say you have like 3 years of development. Do you think that's reasonable? 3 years of development before you got to, so from 2015, they had been working on this game.
Yes.
Right? So 3 years of development on a video game. Let's say you're in that team that is working on that video game. So in the first 3 years, you're like, okay, we're making this game. It's going to be a single player, whatever, blah, 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 blah. And you've been working on it, doing concept art or writing the story, or whatever the fuck it is that you've been doing for the game.
Yeah.
And then suddenly they're like, actually, this is now a live service game. And you're like, oh, shit. Okay, fine. So you adapt your work, you start changing everything, blah, 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 blah. And then suddenly they're like, okay, you've done a good job. We need you to now go to this other team. And you're like, oh, right, because I've done most of like the prep work for this to become a live service. So now you're going to put me on this other team. Okay, I'm going to go work on this other thing. And then fucking 2 years later, they go and they're like, oh, I see you're really excited about the stuff you're doing on Mass Effect. Guess what? I need you to go back and work on this other game. And you're like, but I already did all of my work for that live service game that you had. And they're like, yeah, it's not a live service anymore. We're going back to single player. And you're like, well, what the fuck, bro? How motivated are you going to be developing those next 4 years of the single player experience on which you've already worked as a single player thing, then swapped it to a live service, then got moved to a different team, and then you went back to do the single player thing that you were doing in the beginning all over again? Well, how's your morale going to be? You're going to be in the shitter. And whose fault is it going to be?
Is it your job? Are you getting paid for that?
Yeah.
Okay, then do your job.
Yeah, but it's a creativity job.
That's fine. Do your job. Like dude, you can't tell me that. So in 4 years they couldn't get over the disappointment.
No. But,
because it should also be mentioned that the team that originally worked at it in 2015, very few of them were on the reboot because it was a refresh. That's one of the reasons Mark Dorra ultimately ended up leaving. It wasn't just him. A lot of the original that were working on that had moved on to other projects. They were moved out of it. So it was a fairly newish team from 2020 onwards on Dragon Age: The Veilguard. And in 4 years, this team managed to do nothing. They didn't.
So let me.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that.
Yeah.
So let's say a lot of people left. Not everybody, though.
Yeah.
So some of the people that left will have been the people that had the situation that I just explained, right?
Yes,
they were there in
obviously.
2015, whatever. So there's some of those people there. You could argue those people are probably a little bit jaded with that project, yeah?
Yeah, most likely.
And they're the senior staff. Well, and then they put, if I remember correctly, a lot of the people that, oh no, that was for Shadows. I got those two confused.
Yeah, no,
Shadows is the one that had a lot of people that was completely new.
Yeah, about 50% of the studio was brand new. They never made a game.
So the team that was working on Veilguard, I forget if those guys were seasoned veterans or also
a lot of them were like a lot of them were with BioWare for a long time, or EA, one of the two.
But they came from like a different team. Okay, regardless, that whole situation, that whole shit show, that whole development hell, who's the cause for that?
Well, this is why I told you. I think it's both. I don't buy the media bullshit anymore that, it's just it's the suits. Don't blame the poor developers.
It's not just the suits. It's not just the suits. It is definitely the suits, but it is also
remember,
the
my argument from the beginning was that I'm sick and tired of the media narrative constantly being, you should just blame the executives. These devs are trying their hardest. They're trying their little hearts out, like the little engine that could. They're just desperately trying to get these games out, and the suits are just interfering. And I'm like, dude, you had 4 years to make Dragon Age the Veilguard. And in that time, you didn't make a single new zone, from what I can tell, because every single one of those zones only work in a live service game. Like, only in a live service game do those zones actually work. You can tell so clearly that the zones were designed to be visited multiple times, right?
Yes.
So they didn't make a single new zone. They didn't do any work on the story. They didn't do any work on the characters, because again, you can tell that it was designed to be multiple people playing it, right? That's the whole point of it. So what did they do for 4 years? For 4 years, it seems they created Tash. You know, like we should have the ultimate non-binary storyline here, please. And it's just like, wait, you didn't do shit for 4 years, and you had 4 years. So I'm not interested in blaming the suits anymore. I think all of you are just useless.
I'm interested in blaming everyone.
Yeah, well, you and I agree.
The other guys.
You and I agree. Blame everyone. My whole point was, I'm sick and tired of the media narrative where it's only the suits, and these poor little developers are only suffering because of the suits.
Oftentimes, the suits are the main culprits, because I can tell you that there were a lot of people that worked on Veilguard that did have talent, like the people who are doing combat animations, for instance. Those are really good. Combat animations are really, really good.
Yeah, I wouldn't be
some
surprised.
Of the combat I also liked. So there's some people in there that were definitely talented, but was it all of them? Fuck no.
Yeah, but remember, when I make these claims, I'm never talking about 100%. It would be, it would actually be a feat if you were able to get 400 developers together and you don't even by accident hit a couple of talented ones. Like, you just get 100% apeshit morons, right? That would be one hell of a feat, actually. And maybe they'll actually end up making an interesting game, because none of them have talent and they find some weird way to make a cool game. I don't know. Someone should test that out. But so I agree with you. There might be very good ones. I'm just no longer that. What's the word? There's an English word for it. But I'm no longer as eager to accept the media narrative that, it's just these damn suits that's ruining the video game industry, and really it has nothing to do with the developers. No, I think there's a bunch of developers in the gaming space that don't deserve to be there. And this is sort of, again, bringing it back to Marathon and Bungie. Dude, you're the creative director. On your watch, another artist's entire workflow was stolen. And it actually gets worse, because there's people who analyze this. The entire aesthetic of the game was basically just lifted from her profile. Like, the entire art profile is just like...
The aesthetic of Marathon is like this specific art style. I forget what was the name of it. Given that name. But Wipeout also uses that, and I'm a big fan of Wipeout. So I can confirm, yes, it absolutely looks kind of like Wipeout. So this is like a style that I think this was developed in Britain at some point. This specific
I'm
style.
aware of the different styles. The point is more, so people sort of looked at the color schemes, the specific, because like the art style, different line types are used by different artists.
Yeah,
and
they stole her shit.
And it looks,
yes, I agree,
like they based the entirety of the aesthetic of the game on her profile, right? The art that she made, because the lines are similar, the color schemes are similar. So basically, just and you're the creative director. The buck stops with you.
I'm not the creative director. Don't fucking threaten put me on.
Guys, Rurikhan is the creative director of Bungie.
Hey! Not my fault. I did no such thing.
That's why that guy looked so uncomfortable on that live stream. He was like, Rurikhan should be sitting here. Why the hell am I here? I'm being thrown under the bus. I only just started here this morning.
Guy. It was his fault. It was his fault, bro. He did the whole thing. I did nothing.
But I get your point. Yeah. I think it's very difficult. That's why I think I'm sort of at this point now where I don't want to believe anything the mainstream media says, because it's difficult to figure out who exactly is to blame. I just know that it's not just one or the other.
So it's actually quite simple who is to blame. As far as I'm concerned, leadership is responsible to blame for the fact that they're working on an extraction shooter and that a majority did not want it to be working on an extraction shooter. I think that part is pretty obvious. But the creative art director or the creative director, whatever the fuck, he's the one who's responsible for the theft of art and not the leadership. So I think that these are two separate topics, and I just look at them in a separate way. Pretty simple.
I don't necessarily think it's that simple, but I don't think you're gonna I don't think you and I are gonna meet eye to eye on this one.
Oh no, we're not meeting in the middle.
But I don't think it's necessary.
we can agree that fuck Bungie and we hope they burn, and that's pretty much it.
Oh dude,
positive for the industry. Burn Destiny 2 to the ground, burn Marathon to the ground, and GG's.
No, and Ubisoft, please. If we're gonna be burning stuff, Ubisoft. Can we include Ubisoft in there?
Burn Ubisoft, fuck them.
Yeah, and EA, and Blizzard, and Activision. Well, we could be here burning everything, every single.
I don't think I've played a video game from those guys in quite a hot minute. So yeah, they well, I guess I played Wild Hearts from EA. EA is doing the split fiction thing though, which is good. So they still have some value.
It is kind of just them publishing it, and it's an actual dude that likes video games making it.
Yeah, but they're giving him money to make the game, so
Yeah, well, hey, at least they're publishing.
They're serving an earthly function.
Yeah, okay, so EA can stay. EA can stay.
They're adequately distributing their gross wealth. Their blood money from FIFA is being redistributed a little bit towards doing a couple of useful things here and there.
I mean,
but they should still burn a bit.
They
should still burn a smidge. Okay, how about a smidge of a burn? Like, we don't burn EA to the ground.
No, but
we
some
put them
of
closer to where Ubisoft is right now.
Yeah, we burn some of the
put them closer to where Ubisoft is.
Yeah, let some of the company burn down. Not all of it, but some of it at least. Okay, so on to. I don't know how to introduce this dude even, because
listen, here's how we introduce. Okay, this guy is a fucking magician. Okay, let me tell you, in case you weren't aware, this person is a magician. He managed to make a USB drive appear at a bar with some very confidential company documentation in the same folder as porn from a lady that was performing a magic trick naked. You did not know about this.
This is brand new. I literally looked at the list of our topics and I'm like, what the hell are we talking about now? I'm not aware of this topic being on the list, but all right, I'm intrigued.
Man,
tell me more.
Accolonn does not know one of the greatest achievements of Randy Pitchford.
Dude, tell me more. What exactly happened?
You didn't know about this story?
Dude, I don't play Borderlands. I could not care less. The art style of Borderlands looks dog shit to me. It has always looked crap to me, so I've never played it.
I want everybody who knew about the story that I just told, and you could immediately tell it's Randy Pitchford, leave us a comment so that Accolonn feels bad about not knowing about it. Because I'm sure a lot of the erudite consumers of our podcast will be aware of the Randy Pitchford lore. But anyways,
look at Rurikhan playing for the algorithm in 2025. Well done, sir.
Let's go. No, actually, to be honest, I wasn't thinking about the algorithm at all. I just want them to fucking meme on you, dude. I saw people fucking meme on you. I had
no idea. Like, yeah, you guys can meme on me. I thought, as Rurikhan's talking about this, I'm like, I don't remember these topics being discussed, but okay, let's go.
You didn't know that Randy Pitchford wanted to be a magician?
I kind of, so I connected it to Randy Pitchford when you said a magician, because I know the picture I used of him using cards, sort of doing card tricks or something. So that I kind of connected, but then you were about the USB drive, and I'm like, there was a USB drive in this shit? Like,
this was a long time ago. This is not a recent thing.
Okay.
So, you know that his Twitter handle is Duval Magic.
Yeah.
At Duval Magic. Yeah.
Yep.
But anyway, I'll give a quick intro for the people that don't know that story. This is an old story, not recent. I was just introducing Randy Pitchford.
Okay.
But that story was basically at some point, Randy Pitchford was in a bar somewhere and apparently left a USB stick there. And, the person at the bar started looking through the USB stick, seeing what the fuck is in here.
Yeah.
And they found confidential documents from, what's their company name? Gearbox.
Yeah.
They found confidential company Gearbox documents on that USB stick alongside an MP4 of a naked lady performing magic tricks.
Of course. Why wouldn't?
So bro just has fucking has his porn collection next to the fucking company confidential. Same USB. Bro couldn't even have two different USBs. That's no, we put the company secrets next to the porn. So I can jack off to both at the same fucking time.
Yeah, but why
Makes perfect sense to me.
I wouldn't even ask questions here, because clearly that USB drive is meant to be given to someone or taken from someone. So why do these people need both of those files? It is wild, actually, but let's not question the man, because Randy Pitchford.
But anyways, Randy Pitchford is a fucking legend, an absolute moron that just keeps fucking destroying himself. So what happened was, at some point last week, a fan went over to one of the tweets from Randy Pitchford and said something like, "It better not cost $80."
Yeah.
And Randy Pitchford was like, listen, if you were a real fan, you'd fucking make it happen.
Yeah.
Not exactly like what I'm saying, because I think his Twitter post has since been deleted. But that was kind of the thing. He's like, back in my day, I was working this summer job and I was making like this much per hour, and I was still able to afford $80 to buy this random Nintendo 64 video game because I was a real fan. And if you're a real Borderlands fan, you'll be able to make the $80 work. And it's like, no, Randy, I think you have no idea what the common person is struggling with when they go to the fucking grocery shop to try and get their groceries, not even for the week anymore, because
for the day.
Fuck buying groceries for a week. They're trying to get their groceries for the day.
Yeah.
And these people are fucking struggling. So whenever you say, oh, you can just make it happen. No, you fucking can't, because you just can't stretch money that much, because it rips up. That's how it fucking works, Randy.
Yeah.
You fucking moron. And then he tweeted something else. He tweeted like this video of an interview, whatever it was, where people were asking him about the price. And he's just giving everybody a bunch of bullshit platitudes about like, oh, you need to understand this costed like so much more. We've done like all of these things, and therefore we need to charge more. And it's like, shut the fuck up. Everybody knows the marketing, the market for gaming has increased fucking tenfold.
Yes.
Okay. There's so many more people gaming today than there were like back when you spent your $80 on your fucking Nintendo 64 video game.
Yeah.
The market is fucking massive. The potential for you to make money is fucking massive.
Yeah.
You're just greedy. It's just that simple, okay? Not to mention that these people keep bringing up, oh, the rising cost of development. And then they lay off a bunch of fucking people immediately afterwards. And none of the people that are actually there developing the video game are seeing any of this increase in price. Like these $10 additional, $20 additional that we are paying for video games, none of it is going to actual developers.
Yeah.
And for all the people that are fucking glazing these companies going like, oh, yeah, they should have costed $80 so much longer. Like fucking drowning in cum.
Yeah.
All of these fucking people, like I just want you to actually argue Are the developers going to see a single fucking dime of this money? No, it's the investors and the fucking shareholders.
Yeah.
Nobody else is seeing a fucking dime of this money, and you are lying to yourself if you say otherwise.
Yeah.
You're a fucking corpo cock guggler, and I'm just fucking done entertaining these people. They're fucking crazy.
Yeah.
They're fucking crazy. And it's like, listen, there are some people out there that feel the need to justify to themselves, like, oh, I spent $80 on this game.
Yeah.
I better not hear anybody complain about the fact that it's $80 because I've spent that money.
Yeah.
And therefore, I need to justify my... It's like, listen, nobody cares that you spent $80. I've made a tweet about this. Nobody cares you spent $80, $100, $200. Nobody gives a shit.
Yeah.
What everybody is calling you out on is your fucking necessity to just like juggle their cocks, fucking cradle their balls, swallow their cum, the corpo cum. That's what people are criticizing.
Yeah.
Your willingness to lick the boots. Like, fucking stop. Have some goddamn self-respect, bro.
Yeah.
Just stop. Stop trying to justify it. Buy your video game. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
Okay? Just fucking stop justifying it. Don't be a corpo goblin, bro.
Yeah. I firmly agree with you on literally everything you just said. I think the biggest problem that the gaming industry clearly doesn't understand, right? And the disconnect between game developers and the actual people that buy games is actually insane. Because
it's not the developers, it's the money departments, the accounting
departments. It's the developers, it's the
marketing,
because developers have their own sort of things that they completely misunderstand. But the disconnect, I think, let's just say the disconnect from the gaming industry in general with ordinary consumers. And actually I would go so far as to say with just reality in general. So what these people don't seem to understand is that psychologically speaking, when I look at the price of a game, I'm not interested in the budget of that game, right? I'm not thinking in terms of, oh, the game has to be $80 because budget. $80 represents something in the mind of the player. At $80, unless this is a once-in-a-generation video game, most people aren't buying that. Most people aren't spending that because with every dollar that you increase the price of the game, the expectation of enjoyment increases as well, right? I expect to be sort of wowed a lot more. And I just think the gaming industry sort of in their own heads think to themselves, well, we just need to charge more because our budgets no longer make sense. So when they talk about inflation, they're not lying. The problem is that it's budget inflation. That's the problem, not normal world inflation. It's the fact that 10 years ago, a very expensive video game would have been between 60 and 80 million. Today, if you can make a game between 80 if you can make a game between 60 and 80 million, we call you a AA studio, right? You're a studio with not that much money, because if you're a AAA, like 60 to 80, that's maybe like the startup cost. Like this is the team that's just getting together and writing a couple of shit down. It's going to be 300, 400, 500 million by the time we're done with this game. At those prices, $80 doesn't save them. I mean, I did the math on this. It's not hard math, but you just need to think a little bit logically about it, right? If we go by the average sales of AAA games nowadays, and I sort of want to use Doom, the Dark Ages here. Have you played Doom?
Yes, I've played a fuck ton of
Pretty
Doom
fun,
Dark
right?
Ages. Yeah.
But it's only managed to get about 30,000 concurrent players on Steam, so clearly the Steam sales aren't really there. Now, it has reached 3 million players, which suggests that at least 3 million people did pick it up on Xbox Game Pass, right? And played it over there. Let's go on 3 million sales. At $80, 3 million sales gives you 240 mil. You're still not...
We've made this math on the last
podcast.
Yeah, you're still not making back your money.
You're not making back your money. So the gaming industry lives in this bubble where they think that they can price their budgets into making sense land. Like there's a way for them to charge a specific number for the game that suddenly makes these budgets make sense. Because on that video that Mr. Pitchford linked, he's boasting about how they have a bigger team, double the budget from Borderlands 3. They're going bigger than ever. And you're like, that's not boast-worthy.
You want to know one of the reasons why it's double the budget, by the way, dude? Because you want to know why these budgets are ballooning?
Yeah.
Because that's the way that an investor thinks.
Yeah.
It's like, think of it like this. Investors that invested in the gaming industry, like, let's say, friggin' 10 years ago, they saw their investments like 10x, 100x, like going fucking ballistic, right? And they're like, well, last time I put in 10 million and I got like 100 million back. This is fantastic.
Yeah.
Guess what? Now I'm going to put in 50 million.
Yep.
So they're going to that's like a very investor mindset, right?
Oh yeah.
This thing came up great. So now we're going to invest way more than we did last time.
Yeah.
And then the companies, they grab those investments like, okay, budget's bigger. Therefore, if we give you more budget, you'll make a game that's so much better. They'll make that much more money. Except video games don't fucking work like that.
Yeah. I mean,
and nobody fucking knows for some strange fucked up reason. Nobody manages to realize that it's like, oh man, what if my budget is $5 billion? Imagine the returns on that. It's like, no, motherfucker, that's not how it works.
Yeah, you're not. The problem is nowadays for most of these games to do well, or even just to kind of break even. Because remember, breaking even in video games means making 3 times the amount that you spent on the game. And this starts to make sense when you take into account that the overwhelming majority of games that game companies work on will be canceled before they ever come out. So whenever a game does reach end of life, so it actually gets to the shelf, that game has to pay for the development of a bunch of canceled projects as well. So you can't just have that game, break even and say, oh, we broke even. Because technically, yes, you did, but you're still in the red with all of these other canceled projects that never going to pay for themselves because they're canceled by definition. So once you put that out there, at $80 a game, right? Even if they get to keep 100% of it, they need to sell 10 million copies just to break even, right? To now be sort of successful on the game. 10 million copies sold is like reserved for really good, almost like blockbuster games. But over the course of like 2-3 years, games will sell way more than 10 million copies, but that's usually because they go on sale and a lot of people are willing to pick up games on sale. But these games can only truly go on sale once they've hit 10 million copies sold. Because that's when they've made their money. Everything else is now just extra cash that they're raking in. So in other words, how many games are going to fail outright? Because yes, it's fine games. Like, let's just take the numbers on the most recent Borderlands. Borderlands 3 managed to get a peak player count of about 93,000 players, right? Concurrent players on Steam. That translates usually to between, I think someone said it's like 6 times higher usually in terms of sales. But let's say that it sold 1 million copies. Borderlands 3 sold 1 million copies. I don't know if there's actual numbers on this. But at that, your new price is not making up the budget, right? Even if it sold 1 million copies, you're not making back the double the budget. So where's the logic? Like, surely your logic should be able to tell you this, no?
Yeah, pretty much. It's like you need to be informed on what your budget to sales to all of that stuff, what that ratio is going to be. And if you're not, then you're kind of fucked.
Yeah. So it says here, Borderlands 3 has sold over 22 million copies since its release in 2019. So it doesn't actually have a number on how many it sold in the first few days. Or like the first few months. Because this now includes, obviously, all of the discounts and stuff. But, 22 million copies, now you're starting to be profitable at $80. But no one's going to buy at $80. You have to imagine that of that 22 million people that bought the game, there's going to be a large sum of them that just go, I'm not interested in buying this. Not at this price. So, yeah, it's sort of, I don't know, man. The gaming industry just seems so moronic at times.
In terms of their pricing in the AAA space, absolutely.
Yeah, it just seems like
but I think that, you know, there is such a thing as fuck around and find out. And I think that throughout 2024 and 2025, the games industry has been fucking around a whole lot. So I think that
might be time to find out.
End of 2025, 2026, they're going to be finding out.
Yeah.
But the problem is, like I said, there's a lot of normies out there with more money than brains.
Yep.
And a lot of those people are going to be, you know, buying a lot of these games en masse. But I'm just hoping that more and more people start getting more informed. Yeah. And I'm not even saying like, oh, watch our podcast, get all informed. I'm saying just in general.
Although
like,
you should watch our
content.
Podcast,
you should, absolutely. Yeah. And you should upvote it, do all the things, share it with your friends. But I'm hoping that more and more people just get more informed and watch more content, watch more live streams of video game, start understanding what the situation is that we are in.
Yeah.
Because I'm just seeing this industry going down a path that I'm not particularly happy about. We're more and more divided rather than being more and more united when we should be more and more united.
Yeah.
And because of the fact that we're divided, there's just a lot of infighting in the gaming community as a result. And that causes people to not be as informed, to not be as united in the struggle to, you know, to preserve what used to be a fantastic hobby. And now a lot of people are getting priced out of that hobby. And rather than seeing empathy, we're seeing people fight on social media platforms going like, what are you, poor? Yeah. You fucking poor? It's like, bro, really? Fucking really? That's your fucking stance?
Oh,
I have more money than you?
Yep.
You know what country likes doing that shit? China. This is why, and by the way, I'm saying this in the terms of like the free-to-play space. That's what happens over there.
Yeah.
That's why they're able to put out a bunch of fucking video games that are brutally pay to win. It is because it is socially acceptable that like, no, I have a better job than you. Therefore, when I get to the video game, I am better than you.
Yeah.
Regardless of how many hours you put in, I buy the thing. My character's stronger and I beat the shit out of you because my wallet is larger than you. Not because I'm more skilled, because my wallet is bigger, and fuck you for being a dirt poor motherfucker. That's some of the stuff that goes down over there. And that is becoming a more and more acceptable mindset in the West, which has me even questioning how the fuck did we get to this point? We used to be against this.
Yeah.
We used to be like, no, we definitely don't want pay to win. People are like, no, fuck you. Game is $80. You don't even get to play. You don't even get to the pay to win part. You just don't get to play.
Yeah.
I get to play. You don't get to play because you're fucking poor and you can't afford my 5090 GPU because you're a fucking console peasant. Get fucked in the ass 10 times over. Play this game at 10 FPS, you dirty stinking monkey. Fuck you. And it's like, that's what we're getting. That's what we're getting nowadays. People are just like losing their shit on social media because they have more money. It's like, it's ridiculous, bro. Yep. Like, you know, I've recently made a thread about how RTX is a piece of shit. And people are like, no, it's not. It's fucking great. Runs great on my card. And I was like, yeah, bro, what about everybody else that doesn't have like a, you know, disposable income to fucking suck NVIDIA's green dick?
Yeah.
Fuck them, I guess. Fuck them. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's great that it works. It's the usual thing. Like, oh, it works great on my machine. I don't know what your problem is. It's like, oh, okay. See, I could have used that one on fucking Monster Hunter Wilds that had performance. It's going to be, runs great on my machine. Fuck you guys. Don't give a crap.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, it's fucked up.
Dude, but yeah, the disconnect. You know, speaking of a community that is so incredibly disconnected from reality, as well as just a game that is so... And I already know when we talk about this game, there's people coming in, comments are always full of people glazing this game. But would you please tell us what's new in the world, that wonderful, honest, and amazingly truthful community that is Star Citizen?
Bro, Star Citizen is a video game.
Yes.
Did you know that? You know, Star Citizen's a video game?
Yes.
So Star Citizen started out with a very modest, I think their very first crowdfunder was like $300,000. Then they upped that to like $1 million. They got 1.3 million or whatever it was for their little indie project. And since then, we're at 800 million. And this is like, I forget how many years it's been. It's probably been
it's about
like,
100 mil a year almost since it's been going.
Yeah,
like someone wrote...
I think it's been more than 10 years or something, 12 years or something in the making. But, you know, these guys are working on this video game. And I've said it for years. For years I've said, I was like, listen, this game, it doesn't make any sense for it to come out.
No.
That's why they keep edging you. They're edging you all the time, going like, hey, guys, it's coming 100% next year. Guys, trust, okay?
Yeah.
We got this. Next year, 100% coming out, okay?
100 mil more and it's coming.
Yeah, we got this. So 800 million, over 800 million is where their budget is right now. And the reason I've said makes no sense for this game to release, because that's when they're going to stop making money.
Yeah.
Right? Because if they release the game, they stop making, because right now they keep selling people fucking JPEGs of ships for thousands of dollars, and people fucking buy that.
Oh, yeah.
They buy it. They didn't even ask questions. So, but what happened recently was everything that you can get, at least so I'm told, I'm actually not 100% sure if that's how it works, but so I'm told, everything that you can get for real money, you can play the video game and you can get it. Now, it's still in the beta. There's server wipes. There's all of these things. So if you spent like, I don't know, fucking 200 hours grinding to get that one spaceship that you wanted, and they come up with a new patch next week, guess what? Those 200 hours, they go flushed right down the toilet. And you lose everything. Unless you pay real money for it. Because if you pay real money for the ship, they're not going to take it away from you.
No.
When the wipe happens, they just give you the ship again, because that makes sense, right?
Yes.
Because it's a digital good. Blah, blah, blah. You know, it's the usual thing when it comes to that stuff.
Yeah.
But supposedly everything is currently grindable in the game.
Okay.
Except last week they've introduced something new, something that is called a flight blade. Now, because I don't play Star Citizen, I don't know exactly what these do, but according to what I've read, they change the attributes of your ship. So maybe you're able to go a little bit faster, shoot a little bit harder. I don't know if it actually affects shooting or not, but I know that at least it can change the maneuverability of your ship and how fast your ship can go, that type of shit. So it's like, obviously, it's pay to win.
Yeah.
Now, you know, ships themselves are pay to win. I've always said this game is fucking pay to win. So what's so different about these flight blades? The difference is you couldn't get the flight blades in game.
Oh, you
could only buy them. Whereas the ships, you can grind them, you can do all of that shit.
Yeah.
And, you know, usual shenanigans. So obviously it's pay to win, but I've always said, it actually surprises me that the community is so up in arms about something being pay to win. I'm like, motherfucker, if I buy a $10,000 ship, you think my ship's not going to crush your little dinghy that you got over there, motherfucker?
Yeah.
I will crush you like a bug in my $10,000 ship.
Yeah, you're arriving with the Death Star, and this guy is on his
And you know the best part? Even if you destroy my ship, I still have it because I bought it.
Yeah.
So I'll come back again and again and again because I got nothing to lose. So it's pay to win.
Yeah.
That's why we call it pay to win. But for some reason, because they couldn't grind the flight blades in game, people got real upset. Upset to the point where they actually took it back. They're like, okay, we get it. Next time, before something goes on the pledge store, we'll make sure we put it in the game so that you can grind for it as well. But you want to know the best part about this? As I was searching for this information earlier, right before the show, I ran into a Reddit thread, and we were talking about people just like gargling. You know? And this is like a prime example. Look at this. People need to chill. Content creators, folks who are off their high horses, this is not something to throw massive amounts of shit at CIG for. It's pretty unfortunate that a lot of people forget the aim of the pledge store to support the game and the vision the players wish to see. It's not out of greed that Cloud Imperium Games is doing this. They have to make money somehow. And as of Cloud Imperium Games 2023 income statement here, they're spending a lot more to get the game moving. It only makes sense to recoup these costs. Plus, the blades will be available in-game, not just pledgeable, honestly, if you want to complain, go ahead. But remember why we're here. We believe in this project. It won't be perfect, and we entrusted Cloud Imperium Games.
Bro, I'm stunned. This is the kind of people we need to gatekeep the industry against. Like, these people should be kicked out of the gaming industry. Your PC should be burnt down and destroyed.
Oh my
You don't
dude.
deserve to be here because in what dude, $800 million.
So
This is
so weird.
this is nuts that people are defending this. This is worse than, and it happens in Blizzard too. I remember covering World of Warcraft, and Blizzard would do the most greedy bullshit ever, and then people would be like, "Bro, they have to. The developers have to eat, man. Like, what are you saying?" And it's like, well, I am
like,
paying
the thing
$15 a month for them to eat. I don't know why I have to pay more for them to eat. What, better? Like, the caviar isn't enough. They need all the caviar. I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
The best part is, again, there are some people out there that are actually delusional, and they actually believe that the developers are going to see a single fucking dime of this money. No, this is for shareholders, bro.
Yeah.
Shareholders. I don't know about I'm talking about Blizzard.
Yeah. I don't know anything about the Star Citizen situation. I just know.
I don't know what that is, but
this game is never coming out.
They're making. Oh yeah, it doesn't make sense. It's fucking scam citizens, just like straight up. But I still find it hilarious to me that some of these people are like, we have to support the company. When, by the way, this was discussed already, that there was at one point, and I think that there's straight up like video evidence out there that people can go find. But this is a video game that at a certain point, at least, I don't know if they still do it, you'd have like the high spenders club, almost like you have the high rollers at the casinos, where it's like, oh, you spent over $1,000. Well, let me bring out the premium exclusive menu for you, sir. There's this thing that you can buy.
Oh yeah, the whales get
5,000.
extra access.
Then there's this thing that you can buy for 20,000.
Yeah,
and it's like, I think it went up to like 24,000 or whatever it was on some of the fucking packages that you can buy.
I mean, and
it's like, this is what you people are defending. They don't even trust you enough to the point where they would put those packages in there because they know that would be drama as fuck. So they're like, no, it's only for the people that spend a lot, the high rollers.
Yeah.
Got to keep the high rollers happy. Got to keep the whales happy. Got to feed them more ship PNGs that don't even exist in the fucking video game so that they buy that shit. And it's like, bro,
I mean,
I got nothing, bro.
I mean, fundamentally, it is just, it's one of those things where the people who have already pledged are now so deep in that they can't stop pledging.
They need to justify it.
They need to justify it. They need to believe that this game is going to come out and that it's actually going to be a full-fledged. Like, guys, it's simple. If you cannot produce a game in $800 million, you won't produce a game. It's as simple as that. That game's not coming out. The company has every reason never to release this game. Because as soon as the game comes out, why would anyone keep pledging? The game is out now. They can play it. Now, there's probably a world in which they'll do an official launch for the game and then immediately start developing the next thing. Of course, the problem then is they're going to have to, because right now people are willing to accept
they're going to keep
broken parts and stuff.
PNGs. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I think most people are wasting their money here. Just to be very clear with you all, most people are wasting their money here. I want to talk about something that makes, on the face of it, no sense whatsoever, but I actually think it's a good thing. Take-Two CEO, in an interview with, it was some kind of media, CNN or MSNBC, business something, was asked straight up, do you play video games? And he was, no. I'm not a gamer. I'm not a consumer in chief. Thoughts?
I mean, doesn't that just tell you everything you need to know, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like people used to be in this medium because they cared about it, but it's been something that, you know, a lot of the highest grossing video games,
Mhm.
it's the whole Steve Jobs speech. We bring it up all the goddamn time.
Yeah.
But the people who do marketing, they've gotten control of the product, and now they decide what the product is.
Yeah.
And all the people working on the product that actually care about the product, they can just sit back and watch while the product is molded into something that is soulless, that is, just there to appease shareholders and investors. That's what it's all about. So yeah, of course, dude's not a gamer. He doesn't give a fuck. He doesn't care about any of this.
Yeah. So, based on what he said, I actually think it's not the worst thing in the world.
Okay.
Okay, so there's a couple of things that people need to remember here. Take-Two is a publishing house. They don't produce any games themselves. They just publish. They're the publishers for Rockstar. They're the publishers for Gearbox. They're a pretty big publisher, actually. Like a really big publisher. But then again, they do have GTA. So, how can they not be super big? But publishing houses aren't game developers. What was interesting was about his explanation for what his job is. So he explained, he said he's not the consumer in chief. And he actually thinks that makes him oddly better aligned to do the job that he's supposed to do. Because his job is business. It's to figure out how to get these games out to the most amount of players so that they can play the game. So he said his job for the studio is to make sure that they have the best talent in the industry and to make sure that these talents, the talent has everything they need. So from a computer and technology perspective, he says, and then it's mostly to get out of their way and allow them to make the game that they want to make. And so they asked him, do you ever have input? He said, well, I have opinions. When they show me the game, I'll say, well, I don't really understand this, or why is this happening, or what's this point? He says, but for the most part, it's up to them to make the game. His job is to make sure that that game sells and that they make money off of the game, which isn't terrible, right? Because fundamentally, I can understand why that's been a recipe for success. Because I think the guys from Rockstar are gamers. So, like, the president of Rockstar is a gamer, right? So the studios are ran by actual gamers. The publisher isn't a gamer. He's just doing his job, which is to publish the game.
My question in that whole situation would be, who gets to decide the implementation of shark cards? Is that the publisher or the developer?
No, I think it's the publisher. But
then I fucking hate his guts.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Do most GTA players mind the shark cards?
No.
Why don't they?
Because they're normies.
No. Why don't they mind the shark cards?
They don't mind the shark cards because they're normies and they have no morals. I don't fucking know. I don't mind the shark cards. Anything that's pay to win, I fucking loathe.
Yeah, I do too. But they don't mind it because the game's good. Even without the shark cards, the game's really good, right? You can play the whole online version without ever dropping a cent, and you'll be fine, right? Like, you can play it, and it's super fun. They don't use the pay to win or the payment element to restrict players' ability to make their own events and to make their own game. You can do whatever you want, but there's these sort of extra things that you can purchase that they'll put together for you, which I think is fine, right? Because this allows them to continue to develop the game. It allows them to make money to make the next game. We've already spoken last week about they're probably developing stuff that doesn't matter at all and, focusing on things that don't really increase the fun of the game in any way, shape, or form. But I think in this regard, Take-Two may actually have found the right-ish approach to it, right? Now, of course, the sad part is, and this is why I still think I would prefer gamers being in charge of game companies, because the sad part is not every CEO is this guy from Take-Two. some CEOs as Andrew Wilson.
I think that usually most companies are better managed by having someone who is passionate about the product that they're producing ahead of it. That's the way that I look at it, because they're going to be, because like you said it yourself, dude is in there. Yeah. What's his biggest interest? Selling it to the most amount of people.
Yeah.
His biggest interest is not making the best video game. No. The best video game is not necessarily the most popular video game. That's the way that I look at it. Mm-hmm. But for that guy, that's going to be his thing. Is like, okay, the amount of people that buy this video game is what determines how good this video game is. It's not a Metacritic score, even though that's probably going to be associated with it. It's not an open critic score. It's not like whether or not we have the best video game. Yeah. It's just like we have the best selling video game.
Yeah.
And that's just antithetical to, what is the development philosophy that I actually want for video games. That is antithetical to the philosophy that brought about things like Expedition 33.
Yeah.
And so therefore, if you want more GTA-like games, which I'm sure a lot of people do, and there's nothing wrong with that, that's the type of CEO that you want. Somebody who wants to make the most popular, most mass-appealing video game possible.
Yeah.
And if that's the game that you want, fantastic. But the thing is, it's not the game that I want. So therefore, it's not something that I'm interested in at all.
Yeah.
Like if you enjoy GTA, good on you. I liked the story of GTA 5.
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty fun.
Yeah.
I enjoyed playing the single player portion. The online, I had a harder time enjoying because I didn't think it was super enjoyable back when I was playing it, but it seemed like a million different iterations because when I played it was when it came out on the PlayStation 3, right? I played that game back on PlayStation 3. It was a long time ago.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that it's seen a heavy amount of modification, but it's almost impossible for me to get into it because I fucking hate games that have stuff where you can just buy in-game gold. There's the same main reason why I stopped playing World of Warcraft, because I'm like, listen, game has ton of problems, and on top of it, it's fucking brutally pay to win. Fuck this. I ain't got time to waste on this fucking bullshit. And it's just a difference of opinion when it comes to that stuff.
No, but I
get what you're saying.
At least,
but I don't like the guy still.
No, I fully respect that. I think from their perspective, at least, the priorities are correct, right? So the priority is my job is to make sure that we sell as many copies as possible, but to also not get in the way of the developers, right? My job isn't to tell the developers what to do and what not to do. Their job is to develop the game. I then take the game that they developed and I figure out how do we market this to the most amount of players. I think the big problem comes in, and if every single studio was run exactly that way, if every single CEO ran their company with this sort of mindset, listen, you're the developer, you know what the hell you're doing, make the game. Once the game is made, I'll figure out how to sell it, right? But you just make it. I think the gaming industry would be a hell of a lot better. The issue is that, you have this sort of, in a lot of companies, you have a more top-down approach that happens where the CEO or the suits also want to be involved in the exact making of the game. So I do think there's sort of something to be said, at least the way this guy spoke, and I can't remember his name now. I should have written it down on the list here. But at least in the way that he spoke, it sounded like he understands his own limitations. Right? He knows what he's good at and what he isn't good at. Whereas I do sometimes think you have people like, what was his name? The previous president of Blizzard, who didn't understand.
Mike Morhaime?
No, not Mike Morhaime. The other one. Also Mike.
Ybarra?
Yeah, Mike Ybarra. He didn't understand what he was good at.
Bro, that dude's got some banger fucking tweets for you, bro. He's got some fucking bangers.
Yeah. But he again,
Ybarra the banger, that's what we call him over here. Banger Ybarra.
He's again one of those people that clearly don't understand what he is good at and what he should just not even approach. And I think there's a lot of developers, a lot of CEOs out there with that problem. They think that they're better than what they are at things that they should never even be speaking about. But yeah, I wanted to bring that to you. Another bit of good news, and this is going to be specifically good news for people who follow me and are also super anti-woke. Take-Two just released their company statements and their financial stuff and everything, and they have removed every single mention of diversity, equity, and inclusion everywhere. It's nowhere. In fact, they've taken their statements that read exactly the same from 2024, except now they've removed diversity, equity, and inclusion. No more mention of diverse teams making better games. Our company culture should be as diverse as possible. They're just like, no, we're not saying shit.
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
You guys are gonna go like, they're not talking about DEI. Fantastic. It's like, why do you think they're doing that? Is it like, hey, these people play video games too.
Yeah, well,
these people.
That's perfect.
There's a lot of these people out there where it's like, hey, he's interested in selling as many copies as possible. That's his thing.
Yeah, but I mean, from my perspective, even them just stopping the nonsense virtue signaling is already a big W, right? It's already a massive W. Is that actually going to equate to them just going, look, we'll hire people based on merit.
What if
we'll
the game
make
is
games
super woke?
Good. We don't care about any of this.
What if GTA 6 was super woke?
Oh, I have a firm suspicion that it is. We already have rumors that there's gay parades and you can't kill everyone in the gay parade.
Wait,
yeah.
Kill everyone in the gay parade? Like, what the fuck?
Dude, in GTA, you can kill anyone you want, right? Like, I remember literally doing ramps off of a bridge with my car into like a bunch of bikers, and you can kill all of them. Like, the game does not discriminate. You can kill whatever you want. But there are rumors going around that there's a massive pride parade happening in the game, and you physically can't drive your car into the parade and just mow down everyone, which would be a break from what was already and always acceptable in GTA, which is
not aware
do whatever you want.
Any of this.
Yeah, that's a rumor. So I'm not suggesting that it is.
That's what people are worried about, whether or not you can kill everybody at the gay parade?
well, I think, so obviously,
I
yes.
get it.
Right?
I'm joking.
No,
I get it.
I understand.
I get it.
But
no,
I think people are more worried about the fact that clearly now suddenly there's some protected groups here, right?
Yeah, I get it.
And you can imagine that's pissing some people off. But we'll see. I'm not entirely convinced yet that the game is super, super woke, but I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised.
That will be funny.
I think our final story for the day, because these other two, I kind of don't have much to say about them at the moment. So,
okay.
Yeah, just our final story for the day. You're going to have to tell me about this, because I know I've seen the cinematic of this game, but I don't know anything else about this game.
So, Tainted Grail is a game that's been in early access for quite some time. I wasn't even aware of the game. The developers actually reached out. They're like, hey, we'd like you to check out the game. And I was like, yeah, sure. So, apparently, it is a kind of like a Skyrim type of game. Mm-hmm. And usually I don't tend to get into those all that much because I'm not very satisfied with first-person combat. It's very rare that I'm satisfied with first-person combat. So, yeah, because that's just the thing, right? Because you're in first person, it's kind of like weird and wonky trying to figure out. And
I need to clarify, just quickly clarify, sorry. I hate first-person sword and board. First-person shooting is fine.
Melee combat.
But sword and board, it does not work first-person.
So, I remember that one of the criticisms that I've always had about Skyrim is like, this game would be fantastic if it actually had a combat system. So, obviously, I get in there, I'm curious, let's check it out. And this is a game that's been in early access for quite some time. The 1.0 version actually releases as we're recording this podcast on Friday. Version 1.0 is going to release. And yesterday I streamed about 5 hours and change of the game, I think. And even though I had some issues that were unrelated to the game, because I've been having issues with my streaming PC. Yeah. So if people do watch that stream, they'll see like it being choppy. That's not actually in the game. That's my streaming PC. It's been doing that. Did that with Expedition 33 as well. It's been doing that with a lot of video games.
Don't believe him, guys. Don't believe him. He's bought and paid for. Yes. He's a shill. Look Absolutely. At the back there.
Yes.
They are paying this man to say the game is good.
This is Arthur right here. Look. Okay, Arthur from the game. Yeah, so I'm bought and paid for, so don't believe me.
Show.
Actually, you can see the frame counter on the top left-hand corner, thankfully enough. So no, the game runs fine on my GPU. As per usual with video games nowadays, it's like your mileage is going to wildly vary depending on your GPU. Every game is like that. So I refuse to make like broad stroke statements about video game performance nowadays. But I did wanted to point out, if you do watch that gameplay, if it looks choppy, that's my fucking streaming PC. And if you go watch my first Expedition 33 live stream, the exact same thing happens there. Because it's an issue that I've been having. But anyways, regardless of that, the game itself. So I jump in there, and visual-wise, it looks a little bit more dated than most modern video games that come out nowadays.
Okay.
So if you're like big into, oh no, I need cutting-edge visuals, best graphics, all that shit, it's like, yeah, it might not be super up your alley. But if you're mostly interested on the RPG side of things, building a character, having conversations, consequences, all that type of stuff, the game's got that. Now I'm only 5 hours in at this point.
Yep.
But I wanted to talk to you about something really funny that happened. So you go up to this fort.
Okay.
And there's this guy there at the door. You're supposed to show him this pin because somebody gave you a pin that's going to let you, get inside the fort. And so you go to him, and dude's like drunk. He's wasted. And it's like, okay, you're drunk, whatever. Here's this pin. Let me through. And the guy goes like, that pin looks really official. Yeah, it looks very important. You can go through. So dude's drunk. Okay. And then you go talk to the captain that is there. And you're just like, oh yeah, I'm here. I have this pin, and the guy asks, how did you get into the fort? Like, there's a guy at the door that shouldn't have let you in. And you just go like, well, that guy was fucking drunk. And then I just told him the truth. I was like, yeah, your guy was drunk. Fuck that guy, whatever. And then I went about doing a bunch of other shit in the fort and doing some side quests and whatnot. And then night goes through and day comes back as I was still running around town. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to go outside and I'm going to go do some combat now. As I'm walking outside, I'm like, the guy at the door is not there. I look around, and he's in one of those things that they put people in. I forget the name cages. Where they put the head. Not the cages,
where you can throw
the thing where you can throw shit
at him. Yeah, okay.
Guy is there.
Oh, wow.
he's at the thing, and I was like, oh. What happens? So I go talk to him, and he's like, "Oh, you fucking snitched on me, and now I'm here." And the best part is, he just asks you for more liquor. He's like, hey, "Can you pour some liquor over here, and I'll forgive you."
Oh wow!
I was just like surprised that it was just like such an immediate consequence. Like, yep, guy was drunk.
Wow,
fucked around. So that was an interesting thing. And then the other thing is, the combat. The combat is actually very interesting because it's not just blocking. It's got a parry system. So if you block at the very last second, that will actually send your enemies reeling. You can do charged attacks, which is the usual standard of these types of games. So you can do charge attacks, or you can do your regular, just like normal attacks. But on top of blocking, parrying, you can also dodge, which is something that I don't think I've seen. I don't think Oblivion does it. I don't think Skyrim does it. But they're just straight up like a dodge. So you just choose a direction, you press Alt, and your character will just like dodge in that direction.
Yeah.
And I was like, this actually lets me engage in the combat properly and fight things that are going to be reasonably way tougher than you are. Like, you can still get one shot. I'm playing on the highest difficulty, so you can still get one shot by stuff, but you can dodge, and the dodge is actually pretty good and very intuitive to use, which was surprising to me, because like dodging in first person doesn't sound like something that should be easy to do, right?
No.
You're like, how do you dodge in first? No, but they did it, and it feels good. So I like the combat system. I was having fun playing it last night, but I didn't get to like experience all of the different mechanics and stuff that they have in the game just yet. But it has an expansive skill tree, has like all the things that you would want out of an RPG.
Okay.
And it's been something that's been fun to discover. I've been enjoying playing that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that sounds really fun.
I think that would be one that you would be into because you like stories. This one tackles kind of like a darker interpretation of the Arthurian legend.
Oh. I saw the cinematic for the game, and I remember watching it on stream, and I told my viewers, I'm like, dude, this looks insane. The story looks really good. But at the time I saw it was first person, I was like, man, I hope they do third person. Because I really don't want this.
I mean, but you like spell casting. So that's another thing about this game. So when you're casting a spell, you can either charge the spell or you can just cast the spell.
Okay.
I don't know how it works in Skyrim because I've never casted spells in Skyrim. I know that's kind of weird. You can also do stealth archery if that's something that you want to do. But like, for instance, there was this spell that if you were to just like press the button, it would put a bleed debuff on enemies.
Okay.
But if you hold the button, it drains life out of them.
Wow.
So
Okay,
you actually absorb life.
Yeah.
The other one was like just a fireball. So you can shoot the fireball and it just shoots a fireball out. Or you can charge it and then it becomes kind of like a mortar shot. So it arcs. And it has like a fire debuff that it puts. So like if you keep firing it, eventually your enemy starts burning and takes damage over time as well.
Yeah.
Those were just the two spells that I played around with a little bit.
Okay.
But it was cool. And you can have like 4 loadouts of like right hand, left hand.
Oh, that's
so you can be
cool.
like, okay, I want like axe and fireball or axe and shield. Or
sword and sword,
dual
or
swords, and a two.
dual
And you can
axe.
have like 4 of those, and you can swap those during combat.
Oh.
So I would usually be running around because I usually don't do spells, but in this game, I'm like, okay, I'll pull him with the spell, and then as he comes close, I swap to the shield, parry, smash him in the face, and it already has finishing animations that play out from time to time, not all the time.
Okay.
But so like there was this one guy that I was fighting with a dagger.
Mm-hmm.
And then suddenly my character, I don't know if the animation was not perfect, but I stabbed that guy in the dick as a finishing move.
What?
Like there was actually a scene where the camera panned down to I think it was supposed to be stabbing in the gut.
Oh.
But maybe dude was like at a higher ledge than me or something. My character was like, right in the dick.
Oh, wow.
Like, what
Well,
the
that
fuck?
would end the life of any man, to be fair. that would be the end of it, So, yeah, I'm very much looking forward to the game. I think,
And
yeah.
it is one of those that is not going to charge you $80 for it.
Of
It's
course.
like 45.
Oh, that's a beautiful
45
price.
It's not even 45. It's 44 euros, and
Mhm.
I was checking, and I think it's $45, something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
So they're actually going also for a cheaper price point
Dude.
because they know that they're not like super AAA.
Yeah.
And according to what they were saying on the review guides and stuff, the game's supposed to last for like 50 to 70 hours, depending on
That's a
the
good-
level of
That's a
completionism.
good time for an RPG. I feel
Yeah.
like more than 60, you're starting to go into, like, this is a bit long for an
It's
RPG.
JRPG territory.
Yeah,
at that
yeah,
point. It's JRPG
Like,
territory.
once you get to 100 hours, that can start to feel grating. Because sadly, a lot of games sort of lose their luster after a while. You sort of start wanting to play other games, and now you're stuck having to play this because you can't finish it. I'll just very quickly mention this before we leave. There's 2 bit of Warhammer 40k news stories for those of you that care about Warhammer 40k. I know you love Warhammer 40k as well. There's a new
tabletop.
Yeah, you love the tabletop, but there's a
I'm actually
remaster.
going to a tournament. I'm going to a tournament this weekend.
Oh wow,
I'm going to a kill team tournament.
Nice.
Yes. I'm going to get my ass kicked.
I think I'm
But
going
it'll be
to an
fun,
arm
I
wrestling
think.
tournament this weekend. Don't ask me why. I was
Damn.
invited and I was like, oh, I've never been. Let's go. So I'm going to watch people arm wrestle. But yeah.
Oh, I thought you were going to arm wrestle. I was like, I didn't know.
No. I'm gonna go watch people do that shit. But there's a remaster coming for Dawn of War, the original RTS, and they did say,
I remember that.
yeah, it was very good RTS. They did say that they're not going to change much. They're just going to be upgrading graphics because in their minds, why fix what isn't broken? According to them, this is one of the best RTSs ever made.
Rocket Marines was perfectly balanced.
Yeah, like just keep it as is, And then a big thing, Alcat are the guys behind Rogue Trader. They just announced that they're doing another Warhammer 40k CRPG called Dark Heresy. There's very little known about these games or this game specifically. What we do know about Dark Heresy is you are an Inquisitor this time around. And the whole mission thing is investigating heresies. there's a big heresy that you're investigating, but then there's a bunch of smaller ones. So they want to put a lot of emphasis on collecting clues, putting together cases, finding the heretics, and then ultimately judging the heretics.
Damn it! Because I think that they revealed that the friggin' Leagues of Votan are going to be on it or something. I think they revealed something about Space Dwarves being on this game.
Yeah.
And I was hoping that they would be playable characters, but if you're playing as an Inquisitor, that's not happening because as far as
they're not
Inquisitors are concerned, they're filthy Xenos, so...
Yes. So they might be there, but they might be, enemies of yours. But then again, the first one allows you to basically become chaos, right? The first game, the Rogue Trader, allows you to fully embrace the chaos if you want. You can either be loyal or you can be a full-on chaotic rogue trader. It's up to you. But anyways, that's it from us. I don't know, Rurikhan, if you have anything else that you want to add?
Hit the like button. That's what I want to add, because the YouTube algorithm's eating everybody alive out here.
Yeah, it really is. It really is eating everyone alive. And you know what? I hope that you guys enjoy the show. I hope that you enjoy what me and Rurikhan put together for you every single week. It is our absolute pleasure to do so. If you enjoy it, please remember to hit the like, because it does help out. And comment, comment all throughout the show. When we're talking about stuff that you care about, let us know what you think and how you feel about certain things. We do actually read those comments. And if there's an interesting comment that we want to talk about, we'll include it in the show every single week. Although
meme on Accolonn for not knowing about Randy Pitchford's magic tricks.
Obviously you can do that stuff. Also remember, guys, that the show is early access, about 24 hours for all members of the channel. So if you aren't a member yet, you can become one for just $5 a month. You'll support us and support what we do here. So yeah, really very much appreciated. And eventually we might be able to get an actual editor that can make clips and that can actually, give you guys some chapters. That might be good, right? To get some chapters going for you guys. No, I'm going to try and do the chapters for you guys anyways. As always, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. Be good to each other. Be kind to each other. Hit the like if you like, the dislike if you didn't. And I will see all of you. Well, we will see all of you in the next one. Peace.